All right, so let's jump into picking a color scheme for our app because as I mentioned at the very beginning of the section, the client hasn't specified a color scheme. So we're going to help them build one in this lesson and then learn a little bit more about color schemes and color styles in Figma. Cool. So included in the resources of this lesson will be a little text file that will give you a template that I put together for our color scheme. We're going to use that in just a second. Some good color reads, so go ahead and give these articles a read if you want to learn more about colors and how to apply them in your project. And this is also really cool. There's a bunch of color scheme resources. So all these websites help you build a color scheme for your project. I know I keep saying color scheme, and you might not know exactly what a color scheme is, but essentially a color scheme is kind of like a palette, right? When you're an artist, you have a palette of different colors that you use in your design or in your art. So it's the same thing. There's only so many colors that we can use and that look good together. So that's what a color scheme is a bunch of colors that we can use for our project and we stick to them and create consistency with them and make sure that there's also contrast there so it looks good and it's legible and all of that. So let's go ahead and open this second resource here. I really like it. It will help us come up with a color scheme for our project. So I just opened it up here. It's called Colors Inspo. Essentially, it has a bunch of different color palettes or color schemes that you can use for your projects. There's some really nice ones in here, really crisp and sharp. And there's other ones that are kind of more light. So depending on the project that you're using, you can definitely get inspiration here or even use these same palettes in your projects. They have a bunch of other stuff, inspiration, freebies, brand colors if you want to see your favorite brand's color scheme, and even some really cool gradients as well. We're going to go back into the color palette tab. Let's go ahead and pick a color scheme that makes sense for our project. Since Clean Kangaroo has to do with cleaning, water, soap, those colors are usually associated with the color blue. Now I see in the project here, their logo is already orange. So blue and orange will go really well together. I guess a good example of that could be here where we have kind of a blue and orange. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this palette here, but then go ahead and add some custom colors to it as well. So let's go ahead and copy some of the colors. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and open this link that I told you about. So let's go ahead and open that link here. It should lead you right to this file where I've put together a color scheme template that you can use. It has access, you have access to those links here as well. So you can open that up. Right now we were just on the second website here. Really quickly, this is essentially your color palette that you're going to use for your project. We have a primary color, that's usually the brand color, a secondary color, and then two accent colors that we'll use but not as frequently as the secondary and primary colors. And then we can do a primary and secondary text colors as well. So for now, let's go ahead and just copy this over. Let's select everything here. Everything's already inside of a group, which is nice. While having this group selected, go ahead and hit Command C or Control C on Windows, and then head on over to your own project. I'm going to just paste it right on top of my login page for now, but later we'll organize this into another section. So I'm just going to move it right here for now. Let's just remove the template in the text here. And then let's go ahead and assign some colors to it. So first color I'm going to assign will probably be a color that I'll use as a secondary color. So let's go ahead and double click into here. Also, another way, if you have a group like this and you want to select an object inside of it without having to double click into it, you can just hold Command and then go ahead and select an object inside. That's a pretty neat way to select things instead of having to double click all the time. So now I have this selected. What I'm trying to do here is assign this kind of orange color, or I see it's kind of multiple orange colors. So we're going to use the color over here to fill this rectangle. The easiest way to do so is to hold Control C, and then you'll get a little color picker that you can even see on the top right corner of your screen, which will let you choose a fill. So let's go down here. Now you'll notice there's multiple oranges here that we can choose from. So let's go ahead and just go over here where the kangaroo's legs are and choose this orange. How cool is that? Another way that you can also add fill while using a color picker or an eyedrop picker is to open it up and then using this eyedrop tool from here as well. So let's go back to colors inspo, and I really like these shades of blue here, so I'm going to use this for the rest of my color palette. So let's do copy over here by just clicking on the blue, and then let's go over to the primary. Again, I have that selected using command and then choose this rectangle. And over here, you'll see right next to your fill color, there's a little text that's essentially the hex code of that color. So right now it's white, and white has a hex code of 6Fs. So if you want to go ahead and replace this using Command V or Control V on Windows and press enter, that will paste that color right in there for you. I'm going to actually change this text also just so that we can use it, and let's say there's a developer who wants to use this color, they know what hex code it represents. Let's do the same thing for the orange color. Let's just go ahead and copy this hex code to input into here. Let's go back to colors inspo, take this blue here maybe, and add it to this field right here, and also the text. And then lastly, I want to do a light color that we can use for maybe the background of certain parts of the app. Just double click into here again, and then change this as well. And there we have it. We have a nice color palette that we can use for our project. We will assign the primary text and secondary text colors later. But for now, let's just go ahead and focus on applying these colors.